What's up, guys? The red light is on. Dave Van Auken, the Dave Van Auken Show, presented by Fight Bananas. We got a good one today. Very excited. Ran into my guy David at PFL last week. So much to talk to him about, and then we just started like chatting there. And then he said to me, he's like, Dave, we never did it on the pod before, so I'm like, let's get it. Monday morning, we're gonna get it for sure. So excited. So many things to talk to him about. He had a banner 2021, 3 wins on the MMA side, 4-0. Featherweight, young, huge potential. Let's bring in our guy right away. Let's talk with David Evans. What's up, D?
Yo,
How
what's
you?
up? What's up? I'm good, man. We at it bright and early. I'm like, so if I look a little sleepy, man, don't judge me.
No, you're good, my man. You're good. You're good. Yeah, man, it was a good weekend, a long weekend, and it was kind of so weird with PFL being on a Wednesday, right? And Hollywood, it was a long night, not a long morning. The next day came quick, and then the UFC was Saturday. Like the weekend felt weird. And then Halloween on a Sunday. It was just felt like a 5-day weekend of no sleep.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's really what it's been for me for like the last week and a half because I fought last weekend. So it's like
Right.
I flew to St. Louis the week before, then I'm cutting weight, getting ready for the fight, and then I had maybe like 24 to like 36 hours in St. Louis, and then I had to fly back. Then I flew into Orlando, drove all the way down to Hollywood for the PFL event. So then that's the start of that. And then we were the event, then the after party, and then I had to drive back up north. And then it's like, man, I really didn't get to sleep until like Friday,
Yeah.
maybe,
It was
and then
same here.
and
Same
then
here.
Halloween and all that. So
Yeah. And then the
yeah,
UFC was on early Saturday, so I couldn't even sleep in Saturday and watch
yeah,
it at night. It was just it's been 4 days, 5 days, little sleep. But we're getting it done, man. It's us. We're getting it
yeah,
done. The grinders out here.
yes,
Okay.
sir.
So like I said, there's so much I do. I want to talk to you about movies and music and girls. And what I bet you girls are like, yeah, I got some stories. We got some stories. But before that, well, we got to hit up the MMA thing.
Yeah,
Okay, 4-0. I saw a 3-0 this year. That's kind
yeah.
of what you want, especially kind of getting into one of the bigger promotions. You want that 3-0, 4-0 year. You might have something at the end of the year. I don't know if we can really touch on that at all. But I saw that.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, right? Hopefully.
Yeah.
I saw you had nothing happen in 2020. What happened with that?
Tore my ACL, man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I think it was like the maybe November, December of 2019. I was getting ready for a fight, and I was down in Rufusford, in Milwaukee, training, and then maybe like a week and a half from the fight, just kind of got in a weird situation while training, and then just heard a big pop. Went to the doctor after a few days because it just wasn't getting better, and then it turned out I had completely blown my ACL and then tore my meniscus pretty bad too. So, I had surgery at the end of the year, and then that ACL that takes people out usually. So
Yeah.
that can be like a career ender. But so all of 2020 for me was just recovering, man, and it was a tough year, but I bounced back and 3-0 this year, and we back on the horse. So
Right.
anything that comes after going through that experience for me is like even that much more rewarding.
Like when you said you heard a pop, did you know that, man, this is different? Because I say it all the time. Maybe one of the most underrated things that the outsiders don't know or don't
Mm,
recognize about fighters is like how much your body hurts or sucks or sore on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, like any given week. Not even talking about training camp, just like kind of doing your stuff, getting into
we're
it.
just
It's
we're yeah
yeah. I
we're
always
just
hear it's worse out of camp because like you're not going super hard and you might be kind of chill for a day or two and then you roll with someone's like, holy shit, what happened? You know what I mean? But when you heard that pop, did you like, damn, Dave, this ain't good. This is something more. This is something like real, you know?
Well, the funny thing about it is like my knee had been bothering me for like maybe like almost a week leading up to that. And
Yeah.
like I think it was like a gradual thing because my knee was bothering me, but I was like, I'm gonna push through, I'm gonna train on it. And then that situation happened. And then for like the rest of that training session, like my knee felt better than it did like a week before. So I'm like, maybe whatever popped, whatever happened just kind of
Yeah.
like offset what initially happened like a week ago. But then, finished training, went home, relaxed, iced it up, woke up the next morning. it was like that's when I knew like something like
Yeah.
something is wrong. Like I could barely walk. I still even tried to train on it for like a day and a half after that to see what I could do, and then like I just kind of knew in the back of my mind that after that that this was definitely something different.
Right. All
24
right.
hours later, of course.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
crazy to me. Like, and
yeah.
then it's so crazy. You're like, yeah. I kept going a little bit, kept on pushing it a little bit more that day. So you went 3-0 2021, like you said, maybe something at the end of the month here or in December, maybe around the second weekend of
I'm
December, maybe
like,
in Las Vegas. Who knows? I'm just throwing
hey,
some, who knows,
I'm keeping my phone nearby, waiting on that phone call. If I get
right?
that phone call, I'm on a flight real soon.
There we go. And it was to me, it was real cool to be at the PFL and you see if you string 3 wins, 4 wins in a row, you become a millionaire pretty damn quick in the sport. Being there at the PFL, was it kind of like aspirational for you? Was it like, damn, man, all these, these guys had 3 fights in a row. I can do that, you know what I mean? Or is it a lot of people, a lot of fighters, and I know you're close with Jillian and all that. It is like kind of like UFC or bust. Are you
Mm.
open to any other organizations? What kind of is like your outlook of trying to jump into a major organization?
I had this conversation with Anthony actually when we were at the event. For me as a fighter, as an athlete, man, I'm a prize fighter. I don't really get too caught up on the idea of being, in the UFC or, you're nothing. Like to be honest, like I have to go, with whoever's gonna take care of me the best, whoever kind of fits and aligns well with like my brand and what I'm trying to do because, I love fighting and I've been doing this for a long time. I've been competing as an athlete just in combat sports through wrestling and boxing since I was 12 years old. And like I've always had a vision, ever since I was little that I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna take myself, I'm gonna take my brand at some point beyond fighting. And with that being said, I'm a prize fighter. So whoever takes care of me the best, whoever I have the most mutually beneficial relationship with, that's where I'm gonna go. And to be honest, being there at the PFL, it was a little aspirational, but like I always knew like my goal is to compete at that level.
Right.
But for me, like being there, like pretty much cage side, right? We were
Yeah.
probably as close as you can get without being in the event. It was like watching these guys and like it's like man, like none of these guys. Like I watched the featherweight final and I'm like, these guys are good, but like they don't look unbeatable to me.
Right. I
These
agree.
these guys are good, but like, yo,
Yeah.
I belong there. Like, hold on, I can be getting that 7 figure check in a year and a half, if
Right.
everything lines up correctly. So
Right.
just as close as I was to the cage, like I think it came true to me and I realized that maybe I'm closer to that than I even maybe thought I was.
Right. No, I
Yeah,
love that, man. That's a great
yeah,
story. I love that. I love that. A couple more, like I said, MMA stuff. One, I saw, bro, you had like the craziest, longest Emmy career ever. Like you went for it as your Emmy. Like, did
yeah.
someone not say, like, hey, David, like you could turn pro. We could start making money at this. You know what I mean? We could start you at 23 if you wanted to. Um, or you just wanted to get that work. You just didn't feel ready. I always say it like when I talk to a lot of Emmy fighters, especially here in Florida. It's almost like when you're with someone, you're going to marry them. Like you just know that feeling. Like when
hmm
you're ready to turn pro. When you're going to ask that girl forever. Why was it? I think it was like 12 fights, 13 fights. Like you went after that thing.
Something, yeah. And the thing is like I spent most of my amateur time, traveling the world with IMAF and fighting in tournaments. So like I'm fighting 3, 4, 5 days in a row sometimes. So like you stack up that record pretty quickly. I really wanted to take my time and be patient with my amateur career. Like, could I have turned pro sooner? But like everything around me just I didn't feel like was aligning correctly. Like I
Right.
didn't have like as I'm doing this and like a lot of people don't understand this. Like as I'm traveling from state to state, country to country, like I barely had a coach that I was training with. Like I barely had people I didn't have anyone that was traveling with me and cornering me. Like I'd fly to Europe and fight and I don't know who's cornering me until I'm getting ready to walk out. I'd fly to the Middle East and fight and I don't know who's cornering me until the day before the fight and I'm running through things or people are watching me and like, hey, I can corner you, we can do this. So I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, man. And luckily I was talented enough to perform, but I was missing like a key component, like that base structure of really having like a solid, training camp or like a solid trainer or coach to kind of work with and develop myself. So I really wanted to make sure that was in place before I turned pro. Like, luckily through that time and that experience, through Tyron Woodley, he's like always kind of been like a brother to me, a trainer, a mentor. But like when you're training under someone like that who's at the top, right? Like he
Yeah.
spread so thin, and I think
Right.
that's one thing about our relationship that we always kind of mutually respected is like I never put anything on him. I never expected anything from him. I went out and I did what I did and I gave credit where credit is due. But
Right.
he just unfortunately couldn't be there, as much as he wanted to. And it wouldn't have been beneficial for him to be there when he's
Right.
at the
Right.
top of his game and like, when you think about, where he was trying to go and then where I'm trying to go. So me turning pro, like now I'm like, dang, yeah, like maybe I could have done that a little sooner. But it's very comforting to know like the platform that I fought on as an amateur.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I fought guys who were representing their country, getting paid to train, had teams and stuff to
Right.
travel with them. Like the highest level of competition that you can find under the pro level. I mean, to be honest, like even Tyron said it himself. He went to my first world championships with me, and that was actually in Vegas during fight week. And he's like looking around, and he's like, "Yo, none of these guys are amateurs.
Right.
Like,
Right.
like talent and skill wise." And it's like, yeah, like why not? And when I thought of my career, like I looked up to like the great boxers, the Muhammad Ali's, the Sugar Ray Leonards, and all them. Like you look at their their amateur records as boxers, we talking about 100 and so fights,
Right.
and
Right. I,
that for me helped establish like consistency more than anything.
Yeah, and I love that too. And I always say that to any amateur fighter too. Like, you should also, this is just my like IMO, right? You should never fight a tomato can as an Abby. Like, there's no
Mm,
reason for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should
mm,
fight the best of the best because you just want to learn, you want to get better. And like, this, like, probably I would still say some of your amateur fights maybe were more difficult than some of your pro fights.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
oh,
Like,
100 without a doubt, without a
yeah, yeah,
doubt. It may have been, a little, but the objective is a little different.
right, right.
Once you turn pro,
Yeah.
the
Stacking
there's a
wins,
different side. Yeah, there's a different
stacking
side of
wins and
it,
stacking
and
checks.
just even the fighting style, right? As a pro, from pro to amateur, is different. Like I couldn't imagine as an amateur cutting people up with elbows and knees, and like after the first time I did it, like now I can't stop. Like I don't know if you
Yeah.
see my last my last three fights this year. My first one down in Miami for Titan FC. It's like, man, after that first elbow I landed, I got like addicted to it. It was like a bloodbath. I was like, I've never really had to fight just like gritty, and fight ugly. Like you don't really get that as an amateur. Like you
Right.
get those technical skill for skill, tit for tat kind of battles, and those are great. But like now as a pro, I have to develop that other side. I have to get ugly. I gotta fight ugly, and like I'm getting it. I'm picking up on it real quick. So
I love that. I love that.
yeah.
Well, this is why I get paid the big bucks. I had this kind of out there. So I think you kind of hinted at it. So how did this story, how did the origin of you coming to the firm, training down here a lot in South Florida, Jillian, Jose Shorty Torres, Dean Thomas in the garage, you know what I'm saying? Like, how did that come to be? Like, how did that relationship happen? Was it all with T Woodley at the beginning?
Yeah, essentially, because like I would travel around with Tyron quite a bit when he was on top and I was an amateur, and then he trained and worked with Dean. So like me and Dean would cross paths, like obviously in training camps or just whenever he would come down to St. Louis. And we kind of connected. We talked. We weren't like, hey, I'm gonna come train with you like right away. Like that was never even in the plan. Like now that I think about it, like maybe initially like me and Dean's relationship was similar to me and Tyron's relationship, to where like we're in this fighting world. We all have our roles, but when we're together, we almost never talk about fighting. We
Right.
never we like
Right.
never talk
Yeah.
about fighting at all,
Yeah.
And I believe like after I was maybe like 10, 11 months out from my ACL surgery, and I had literally like I had done nothing for almost a year because I couldn't. I mean, I had to really be careful with my knee, and I wanted to take the time and be patient and do what I needed to do before I got
Right.
back to training. And he came in town. Maybe he was training Tyron, and he brought Jillian and Shorty. in. And then I think Shorty needed someone to kind of roll with. So I was like, I was there, I was like, okay, I'll come in, I'll be a body, I'll do what I can. And then fortunately they were there for like maybe 2 weeks or so. So like literally coming, I would go from the injury to a year of not doing nothing, and then I come back like, oh, I'm just gonna be a body for Jose Shorty Torres. Like this dude is like anybody knows him knows how how good he is, and I mean Jillian as well too. And then
Right, right.
for me, like they're getting ready for fights, they're in the best shape they are, and then before you know it, I'm like sparring with them too, and I'm like, man, I got this is where I gotta pick up from, and then that's just kind of how I got back into got back going to training and stuff like that. And then maybe like a few weeks after they left, Dean just hit me up, was like, "Hey, come down." And I was like okay. And I like packed up everything and I was there like maybe a few days later.
I
And
love
then
that.
like
I
I
love
moved
that.
and I'm still here. So you can't get rid of me.
I love that. That's such a good story.
Yeah.
Like that's life. That's so organic. And Dean's thrown me a couple of those texts, like whatever you need, like come here, do this, whatever, stay. And I love
Mhm.
that. I was like, it's the best. Um, One kind of funny thing, like you said and mentioned, and I'm gonna kind of take it to right field a little bit. It's so wild how everyone in MMA, like everyone in the circle, even we're at a PFL event, and Anthony spent most of his time in the UFC, and there's like a
Mhm.
ton of USC people here, or even Bellator, or whatever. Like everyone's still so connected, and everyone's like crazy.
Mhm.
So, like I saw you down there, so I was like, oh, let me say what up to David. Like, so I go down there, see you because we're like in media row up top.
Uh-huh.
And so we just started talking. We're like, what up, what up? And then I didn't even know Anthony's next to you, right? So like all of a sudden Anthony Pettis is next to you. So we start
Yeah.
chopping it up. And then Anthony's like, what's up? I was like, Anthony, remember like 3 years ago, I got like pictures of him on a bull.
Oh, the bull.
Stories. And it's like, it's wild. Everyone knows each other. Like everyone,
Mhm.
there's like stories in between everyone. And it's like so crazy how like there's so many fighters or people in the business and people
Mhm.
around so many states. You're traveling all over the world, you're saying, but like at the end of the day, like everyone's like connected like this. Like everyone crossed paths and got stories on everyone.
Yeah, especially once you get to like a certain level, right? Because it's almost
Right.
like a fraternity kind of like
Yeah.
it's like we're in this, we live like alternate, lifestyles to like anyone else in the world. So
No
it's
one
like,
gets it.
yeah, no one understands. It's so taboo, but like we exist in it, and then obviously try to balance out the real world at the same time. But
Crazy. All right. So talking about the real world, like I said, we went 17 minutes longer than I thought, but the fight
oh
game's the
my
fight
bad.
game. Yeah, man, I want to talk about you. Like, I know you were saying 27. I checked your IG handle. You got like, I didn't know like how much into like modeling, right? That you are into it. I do want to talk
Yeah.
about you on the stick, talking about maybe commentary. We said it, movies, music, girls. I know you probably got stories on stories. So like, just take it away. Like you got something funny or, is commentating something you want to do in the future for sure?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, and I had a conversation with a friend last night. Like I kind of maybe even want to take it beyond that. But I think commentating for me is like it's great practice and it's also great training for fighting because like
Right.
I have a very analytical, logical mind. So when I'm watching the fights and stuff, it's like great for me to be able to kind of process and apply things for myself training wise and just kind of see how things work out. So I kind of use it as a tool for that as well. But in the future, I definitely want to want to transition into commentating more and doing more analyst work, and hopefully, I get that opportunity. Even if it's outside of fighting, I don't know where exactly I'm gonna go, but I definitely think at some point I see myself in front of the camera a lot more, and like so, whenever I get the opportunity to do stuff like this, whether it's podcasts, whether it's the modeling stuff I get, which may be limited because I got to cut from my last fight for a little bit. I'm a little upset about that, and even some of the acting stuff I've done. Like I definitely see myself going in that direction. I don't know how exactly I'm gonna package it or where I'm gonna fall in quite yet, but we'll see in the future. I think in due time you'll see me doing more things like that for sure.
No, that's pretty crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like the commentating side, like it's so wild how much people don't like it. People don't understand, I don't think, how hard it is. Like for one, you
Mhm.
got like a live hot mic for 5 hours. Like that, we say stupid shit all the time. So like to have that hot mic 5 times, and then like I remember, so like when I came down there that one time, it was you, Jillian, and Shorty when we went down there all the way to South Florida.
Yeah.
Like, and even Jose kind of asked me, he's like, hey man, like you're just like, you're not even like doing interviews or not doing a lot of stuff. Like what, like you're here. I'm like, dude, I'm just kind of like watching and learning like techniques and what people say and some kind of like lingo or the language and stuff of that
Yeah.
nature. Cause like Friday I got Island Fights commentating gig and it's like my fourth one. And it's like so wild to like I love going to different training camps and seeing people and fight and practice and spar and like you just like pick up on stuff and like,
Mm.
oh, like everyone. So like in the UFC, they go weight, length, height, all this stuff. Oh, is he a
Mm.
better wrestler or box? But like the underrated shit's like pace, cardio, ring control. Like some people can be super long, but they don't know how to use their length. It's crazy. They're so long, but they don't get to throw at that jab or be on the outside. And like
Mm.
even like Peter Yan just did to Corey, like he just kept moving forward. Like no
Forward.
one
Yeah.
understands how hard that is to fight. Corey's fighting off his back
Yeah.
foot for 25 straight minutes. Like he had no power shots because he's off his back foot like this trying to fight. Like people
Yeah.
don't get it.
Yeah.
It's like little
That,
shit like that.
yeah, there's so many layers to the sport. I mean, hope it's like the idea is right. You do anything enough, you'll get good at it. So like you're
Right.
around the sport enough, you watch it enough, you'll get good at it. But like when you step into that commentator or that analyst role, you not only have to have a good enough understanding of what's going on, but you have to know how to like translate in so many
Yes.
layers what's happening second for second. And like some of the best fighters, some of the best even coaches in the world can't necessarily do that. Translate something to where it's like it has a universal appeal because you got to think about it. Like the
Right.
fighters and the true martial arts fans, when we're watching fights, we're not really worried about what the commentators are saying. Those are for the people that are the casuals that may not really have an understanding. So you have to really learn how to transcribe and translate that to get it appealing to them. So then the sport makes sense to them. And that's hard. And like once you're around more people that are around the sport, you kind of develop the language to kind of translate that. And so
No,
that's kind of what you're doing, you know?
100%. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. Like even the Glover Teixeira thing, like he's on top of Jan, right? And everyone's like, throw blows, like throw hammer fist, throw. And it's like, no, guys, he wants just to control his body. He wants to make
Hmm.
sure he's got his balance right, control right. Then he's going to get him a little bit. Then Jan will turn his back. He's going for the choke the whole time. Like he's not trying
Hmm.
to ground and pound the light heavyweight champion of the world. He's trying to get that neck. And when he got it, the fight was over in 5 seconds. Like it's
Right.
crazy. Like the main, like the casual, because to me, like the fight game, there's so many little details. It's so, um, so particular. It's like so crazy, and there's so much
Yeah.
stuff happening, and like transitions, and like the grappling game and stuff. Like some people want to be on the bottom. You know what I mean? Some people will fly
Yeah.
at you to get you, and it's like it's wild. It really is, man. But all right, no, oh, you go.
Go ahead. No, and I was gonna say, yeah, and like that's the thing. There's just not one way to do it. Like
Yeah,
what appeals to Glover may not appeal to me. Where he's looking
yeah,
for the submission. If I get on top of you, I'm throwing blows, I'm throwing elbows until you give it to me. So there's
right.
not one way to do it. There's not one pathology to an end result, and that's where those layers come in there.
100%.
Yeah.
Jillian wants to go for the neck. Rose wants to keep it outside. Amanda wants that big, big, one shot.
Yeah.
She's not looking to jab 35 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the best fighters in the world, there's just different ways. It's so crazy seeing Chuck Liddell still. It's like, man, this is the baddest man on the planet like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And like
Yeah.
watching him now, it's like, I don't want to say this, but you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
feels like his overall game wasn't great, but he was the
Yeah.
baddest man on the planet for a year or two,
The sport's evolved,
Yeah,
so much, and then Father Time is undefeated. So,
for sure. For sure.
it'll beat everyone.
So how is it to be a single man, be in your prime, looking good without the cut, how is it still is it hard to date or date serious, or maybe don't want to ever date serious right now? Like how is that seen? And like I said too, the fight games on the female side, they're out there. They're out there. So like how is that whole side of everything?
So it's extremely difficult, so difficult, up until till this point, and maybe this last year. Like I've really just kind of bowed out of the dating game, um, altogether. Simply just because I do understand like the way that I have to live my life now is like so taboo, man. Like I could get a phone call and I can either be halfway across the country in like a couple of days. You just never know. I got to be where the opportunities are. And I understand that's like a lot of pressure to put on anyone in a relationship.
Right.
Even though, since I've moved here to Florida and it's been so great, like living with Dean, training with Dean, like more than fighting, what he's taught me is how to live life as a fighter. Because like I can get so singularly focused on things, and this has hurt me in relationships to where like I'll put everything else on hold for like fighting. But the reality is like life is still happening while I'm trying to achieve these goals and whatnot. So you kind of gotta have that balance, and like I've kind of learned that this last year, and like like, yeah, I'm single, I'm young, people see that I fight and they get these ideas of maybe where I'm at and where I'm going. And I notice like people are a lot more friendlier, women come a lot quicker or easier, but it's like I need something that's fulfilling for me. And people have said like, hey, maybe you should look into like dating like a fighter that's a female. And like I don't know, it's just never been something, as of now, right? Never say
Right.
never. I'm
Right.
learning that I've never really been attracted to it. I look at them like coworkers almost, like there's such a high level of respect, and I understand what we do. And like I don't know if I like the idea of like necessarily training with like my partner. Like I like to
Right.
have our lives separate, like we support each other, like that kind of thing. But there's maybe one. I met one time, and I was like, oh, like oh, that was intriguing, but you just never know what's going on in people's lives, and it is what it is.
Right. And that's so true. Like people don't really
Yeah.
get that. Like imagine, training with them all day, like grinding, being on the mats, being in like this hard work environment, and then going
Hmm.
home and like pillow talk. It's like, oh, that was a good practice today. Like, oh, did you see that,
Yeah.
transition I did? Like it
Yeah.
feels like it would be easier, right, to have someone outside the game a little bit. So it's like she's talking about being a teacher and helping kids all day. And then you're like, hey, I had a great practice with Shorty and Jillian. Like you could kind of like have that work
Yeah.
like out of workflow and have like real talks and stuff like you know what I mean.
Yeah, I've kind of had that like with my ex, like one of my exes for a little bit. Like she was a lawyer, and then she transitioned into doing marketing in the legal space and all that stuff. And I did kind of like that balance, like being with her.
Yeah.
Like she didn't care about fighting because she don't know anything about it. Like she grew up like Ivy League college, and like so me being a fighter is like to her world was like so taboo, and like to the people that were around her, they're like why does he fight? Like is he crazy or something like that? But like I mean, obviously she knew me for me, she loved me, and she respected me for me. And I just really like that dynamic because we learned so much, I felt, from each other,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
our the way our lives were set up, and so our upbringings were so opposite from each other. So that's probably why I'm single too. My heart's probably still in other places, and we're working on it. But I'm just right now focused on me trying to get that $1 million paycheck maybe.
Yeah, trying to get that PFL million. And like you
Yeah.
said, to make it on this highest level, and it's not, but you do have to be it. And I hate using this word because to me, it's kind of like a mean word when like normal people use it, I guess. But like you
Mm.
got to be selfish. Like
Oh
your
yeah.
time and energy. And like you said, hey, you can have plans with your girl, and then Showtime calls you, be like, hey, we got it. December 10th, we're good, we're booked. And it's like,
And I got
sorry,
it.
babe,
Yeah.
like I'm gone. Like I know we had tickets to go see Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I'm gone.
Man, you want to talk about stories, man, and it's weird. It's kind
And
of surreal because everything kind of came full circle for me actually at the PFL after party event. And I'm sitting there with Dave Mercatani, one of my trainers, Randy Couture, and a few other people. And I'm sitting there with Randy, and me and Randy just get to talking, right? And this is someone who's been to the highest level of the game. From the outside looking in, he's done everything right as a fighter. And like, what do we end up talking about? Fighting, you think? Like, no, we talk about relationships and fighting. And he had his girlfriend there, and I asked him a question. I was like, man, like, what do you think your biggest regret, leading up to this? And he was like, he kind of touched on, the being selfish, and then brought up relationships. And then I was like, man, like that's crazy because that's where I feel like I met. And he just gave me some of the dopest like life advice that I think I've ever gotten when it comes to pertaining like dating and like living a normal life. And man, he was just like you got to make that person like a part of your team. And then I'm not going to spill the whole thing, but like that moment, man, if you would have been there, if you would have had a camera on it, it was like written for a movie, written for a
Yeah.
movie script. Like, and that just kind of like just put so much in a perspective for me. And like, since we're talking about relationships, it's like, man, I'm like, dang, I could have done this differently. Dang, I could have done this differently. But, I just got to take that information and just move forward and keep going forward and hopefully apply it in the future. But
Right.
I think for me, that's something I'll probably talk about for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. And like you said, like you're so early and young and everything of that nature too. Like you never know where you want to be 3 years from now. You know what I mean? Like right now, you're like, hey, Florida's nice. This is good. Weather's good. Taxes is good. And money's good. But like maybe in 3 years, and the UFC wants to use you. Like, hey, David, we love your look. We want you talking more. Like we want you to do Fight Pass stuff in Vegas. Can you move out there? Like you never know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like maybe it's better to be with like a West Coast girl, or maybe there's some girls that are like so family based, and if she's out here in Florida, she might not want to move out there to Vegas.
Yeah. Like I've definitely come to terms with the fact that like, I'm building my relationship with my immediate family, but like I've come to terms with the fact with the way that I travel, like I'm gonna have to settle into someone else's like family because no matter where I go, because like I'm always gonna be the new person, like even in Florida, it's like the friends that I settle with are like most of my friends are Dean's friends now because I'm new to the area. So like, but fortunately I'm used to that just because of the way I grew up and all of that. Like I'm used to it. But yeah, whoever I date, I'm probably gonna have to become part of their family unit and then just like introduce them to mine over time because I'm on the go so much.
I love it. I love it, man. David Evans, 4-0. Make sure you follow him at Fightin' David on IG. 3 last things for you, all dropping Saturday night, UFC 268, Madison Square Garden. 15-second, a minute, outlook, whatever you want. Who wins, Usman or Covington?
I'm going with Usman all the way, man. Like
dominant or close?
I think it's close, but positionally dominant, if that makes sense. Because Usman, he doesn't give, he doesn't break, and he's consistent, man, all the way through. He doesn't do much like special. But what he does it just in his own special way, man. And I don't see Covington the high volume. I don't see Covington breaking him. I think it's going to be competitive. It's going to be a good fight. But Usman positionally is going to, I think, out.
Right. And we don't have a lot of proof on it, but like that's just the Usman to Masvidal, like the first fight to the second fight. Usman looked way better in fight 2. So like, and his game plan and his coaching's the best, one of the best coaches, smartest coaches in the world. I feel like Usman is going to be even better the second time around with Covington because like Covington got a lot of shit off on Usman in that first fight. And I don't think he wants to do that again. There's no reason to go in a 23-minute war like fight 1. So I think Usman's going to be a lot more cleaner, lot more pace. I think we are going to see some grappling. And I think Usman gets it done as well. Co-main event, Rose and Wei Lee. I was there at UFC in Jacksonville when Rose won the title. One of the loudest roars I've ever heard in my life. I've been to Super Bowls, NBA Finals, WrestleManias. That Rose knockout was insane. You got Rose doing it together. You got Wei Lee getting the back.
At this point, I will never doubt Thug Rose, man. I think she's gonna get the job done. Honestly, this time I see her getting like, I don't know why, but when I envision it, I see her getting like some type of slick submission. Like I don't know why, but I just feel it. So mark my words, if it happens, I'm coming back on here and I'm Mystic Mac up in here.
We're cutting this. Yeah, we're cutting that. Like as soon as I'll put like the Rose rear naked choke and then you saying that. So we'll do that. And then the third fight might be like the most intriguing fight of the night because odds and just like where they're at. Gaethje is finally back. It's been this 18th month layoff for him versus Michael Chandler, who fights the 3 toughest guys in the UFC has to offer. You got Chandler or Gaethje?
I think this one is a bit of a toss. Excuse me, is a bit of a toss up, but being from Missouri, I gotta go with Chandler, man. We're kind of in that same circle. He was cool with Tyron. I've gotten to train with him once, maybe twice. I just think his heart pulls him through this one. I know Gaethje has a big heart as well. I think this one is more exciting for the fans than anything. Like this is definitely going to be fight of the night for sure.
I think so too. I do too. I think it's going 15 minutes. Yeah, of course you would assume Chandler's going to like want to grapple and wrestle in there, but like sometimes like when you're in that war with Gaethje, something just takes over your body. It's like screw game plan. Like we're going to have this moment. Like we're going to have this Madison Square Garden moment, UFC 268. We could see 15 minutes of like insane, like Poirier, Eddie, Chandler, Dustin. Like we might see something special Saturday night.
Yeah, the takedown definitely, I think, increases Chandler's chance, but it's just a
Right.
matter of how he approaches it, right?
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
Crazy, man. Hey, you're good on this mic, Dave. You're good on the mic.
I appreciate it. Hey, coming from you, man, like this is your world. So
Hey,
if you say so, that means a lot, and maybe that's, something down the line. We can just do more of this for sure.
hey, I'm with it. I'm definitely with it, man. Hopefully we'll see you out there. I'm gonna be out there in Vegas that week. I cannot wait. I don't even know what we're allowed to say yet, so I won't say much, but hopefully we'll see you out there in Vegas. All right.
Hey, I got Showtime on speed dial. I'm making sure they come through. They're on my favorites list, so I'm looking out for the next couple of days. I got my flight on standby. Google's watching it. I'm ready to go. So.
I like it. All right, my man. Hopefully we'll see you soon. All right.
All right, brother. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, man.
Appreciate you.